Alright, good morning class. Today I will bring you PAD 120 chapter 7 democracy. Okay. Before we start the democracy, we should know the history of democracy. So demos is the people, and then cracy is the power of ruler. That means that people of the power ruler. So that means that in the democracy is from people to people of the people for the people. So from the people, that means that people choose their representative, and their representative will be form a government, and the representative will be responsible for the accountability if the people asking the certain issue, they must responsible to answer it. If you see the democracy, that means that already been find out, already being used in the Greeks. Socrates, Plato, and Percy. After the Greeks is in the Middle Age is the Islamic governments already using the democracy in musyawarah. After that, what happened is the Europe's army in the Perang Salib and the Crucified War or the Holy War, they lost it and they used the democracy bring back to the Europe. But at the time, the Europe kings reject these ideas. But what happened is 1780s in the Americans, the government of Americans, the new one, which ousted the Britons, and then they achieved the independence. So they used the democracy systems that they already done in Europe by the by the soldiers who are losing in the Holy War. So this idea came from the Islamic Caliph. So if you see this one, if you see these terms, that means that the history of the democracy is already used in Islamic countries. That means that Islamic caliphs, and then bring to the Europes, but the Europes reject. After that, the Americans who are migrate to America and form the governments under the George Washingtons, and they ousted the Britons, the colony of the Britons, in the imperials of Britons out from America, and then they're using the fully democracy. Okay, this is the history. Okay, now we're going to the types of democracy: direct, indirect, participatory, characteristic, and disadvantage of democracy. This is chapter 7. So chapter 7, that means that it's a democracy. Okay, I think I'm already giving you the things that you should know. That in direct democracy that Malaysian using is the representative democracy. It's a representative democracy. Okay. So representative democracy, we call it is a rebel democracy in which people vote for the government through regular election with secret ballots at the choice of candidate. Government is accountable to the people and is power limited in some way and impart free press and the individual right of the people. Okay, advantage of representative democracy, especially as opposed to direct democracy, included that people cannot be expected to have the time or interest to make important and legal decisions. Representative can educate the public on political issues. Representative ensure the interests of all sections of society are taken into account and can be held accountable for their decisions. Finally, representative are able to aggregate the different demands of people into a more coherent and political logical programs. That means that you must understand. Indirect democracy is the representative democracy. Indirect democracy is a representative democracy. Direct democracy is no representative democracy. Direct democracy, that means that we are taking as US a direct democracy, which people are choosing the presidents, and then the president will make any decisions. They are not choosing the representative, but they're choosing the head of the states. But in the indirect democracy, people are choosing the representative. Representative to representative them in the legislative body. We call it the representative democracy. That means that they are represent their people who are choosing the representative. That means that if the people choose A as a representative, so the A will present them in the legislative body, and A would do the decisions making for the people who are choosing A. Okay, this is indirect. And then disadvantage of representative democracy include that representative may distort people, demand to seek the political preference, may not make themselves accountable enough during election, and can only be removed by election if they are lost the respect of the people. That means that if you want to throw out the representative, you must wait until the next elections or until he die. Okay. So the rhetoric mandate representative is flow, as voters have to accept or reject or hope manifesto, not be able to make clear which part of it they oppose, and there is more information in this day and age of people to be able to make better decisions. That means that you understand when you say the elections sometimes we are using the media, social media, mass media. So from the media, people will know is it either A is the better to represent them or not. Okay, and you must understand that sometimes it's not say, let's say that if three person who are being as a candidate for one area's elections, let's say that area of the B. So in the area of the B, there's a three candidates. In these three candidates, let's say that we have a A, C, D. Candidate A get 40%. Candidate B get 30%. So that's a 70. Candidate D get 20%. Those are the 70, 80, 90, and 10% who are not voting. That means that A will be chosen as a representative of the area B. But you must know that from this 40%, 60% are reject A, but 60% have to accept A. That means that the A represent the area of the B is not because majority choose A, but because of the portions. So that means that disadvantage of representative, you must understand. Disadvantage of representative, that means that you must understand that sometimes an area, let's say the area B, have 3 candidates. How about 4? How about 5 candidates? So the portion will be lose and lose. Will be decrease and decrease. Okay. So if the 2% are if 2% are the candidate of the area B, that means that the portion will get from 1% must be majority more than 40%. But if 3%, that means that the portion will get majority is less than 40%. If 4% are the candidate of the area B, that means that maybe 30%, maybe 20% is the big portion to represent the area of the B. So this is what the thing that representative democracy sometimes who are the candidate who are winning the area of the B, it's not means that represent the majority. It's not meaning that represent the majority, but it's meaning that represent the big portions of the majorities. So this is the things there. Okay, disadvantage. So the second disadvantage is what? Is the, like you say, the informations Sometimes innovation can be manipulated. Sometimes manipulation can be being negative perceptions. So these are the things that, okay. So is it democracy is good? Is it democracy is good? Yeah. If you see this democracy, yeah, yes, you see that democracy is can given the chance for the people to make their decisions. But you understand that, okay, people are not govern the government. People are not govern the governments. People are giving their vote to choose one of the candidate or leaders to become the represent them. That means that if you see this one, let's say that in the US, okay, US, Donald Trump's, Hillary Clinton's, and one more person who are being candidate for the US presidential, and Donald Trump winning 51%, okay, and then Hillary Clinton getting less than 47%. So Hillary Clinton lost, and the third person also lost. So Donald Trump win. Yes, you said that Donald Trump win, but Donald Trump win as the president. Is it Donald Trump is a good? Is a good govern the U.S. now? So that means that you understand, okay? The people are not controlling the government. The people choose the representative to represent them as a government. So what happened is sometimes the person who are being represent them can be bad or can be good. Okay. So the things that you should understand, that, okay, democracy is the thing that when the person will represent a people and become the leader, so this leader will be say that determine the staff in below, determine the governance, determine everything. So from there, the people must know how to choose. Is it this person can be a next candidate for the president to represent them as a president? Okay. So if you look on here, what's the characteristics? What the characteristics? What the conditions? Okay. What's the conditions for the democracy? Okay. Condition for the public. Condition for the democracy is the first is the public consensus. The public consensus given the power to a person to represent them to form a government. That's the first thing, the first condition for the democracy. The second condition for the democracy is elections. Elections must have the rules and regulations. The rules and regulations must be created by the representative in the legislative body and must be agreed by the people. So this is the second thing, elections. The third thing is the head of governments. Okay, the head of governments, direct or indirect, from the elections, okay, should be responsible for legislative body and cabinets. Why? Because you must understand, if one person represent area B in the parliaments, if that person is from rural party, so maybe he can be a minister in cabinet. So that means be responsibility, accountability, transparency. So that means that the head government, when it being choosing by the people to represent them, should have a responsibility. And then the fourth point is what? The fourth point is the right to vote. Okay, the right to vote must be consist of the awareness from the public. If the public doesn't have a awareness, if the public say that passive, don't want to know about the politics, so they will make a wrong choice. Awareness in politics is most important, because awareness in politics will give them an idea which person is a better, which person are not better to represent them. So these are the things that you have to clear up your mind. Okay, and then the last point is the governance. Okay, the governance, who want to govern the government must be public service, civil service, but the civil service must have a merit, and this merit must be came from the peoples. So if the peoples are not satisfied to the civil service, that means that the people are not satisfied to the government. So the government must know how to choose which is the best for suitable for the one positions in the civil service. Okay, so that means that there's a 5 points you should know, that the conditions of the democracy, the 5 points for the condition to make the democracy exist. Okay, and then you must understand that the characteristic of democracy, it gives the people the right to vote. It gives the people the right to vote. This is a characteristic. This now is the conditions for the democracy exist in the robots. So the first characteristic is right to vote. The second characteristic is open for change. So the right to vote is the main point. The open for change, that means that in democracy, people have a right to change their governments, to change their representative. There's no such thing that they have is the people have been blocked to change the governments. Okay, that means that democracy is different from authoritarians. Authoritarians, that means that the government using the full power to stop or maybe to intervene the people want to change the governments. So authoritarians is the versus of the democracy. Democracy, that means that must be open for the change. Change, that means that change in the government, change in the representative. Okay, and then you must offer representation to the people, represent the people. That means that to make a person to represent the people must come from the voting. This voting is the voice. So if the people are voiced out, so the representative must hear and must know and must take care this voice. Okay, the representative cannot be said that I'm now become the ruling party, so I don't want to listen, and waiting for me to become the opponent party, and then I will listen. This is the wrong point. If you are opponent party or you are rural party, the representation must be hear the voice, must take care of the areas. It's not be double standard. When you become the rural party, you don't want to listen, you don't want to hear, you don't want to see anything. But when you become the opponent party, you want to see, you want to hear. That's a double standards. So you must understand. Because democracy, that means that the people choosing a candidate to represent them. This candidate must listen to the voice, must hear what the problems, and then the third thing is must go and see what happened, the area that he or she represent. Okay, and then the next characteristic is people must involve the engagement in the politics. So the engagement in politics, we call it partisans. So the partisans must be high, because you must understand that if the people are not engaged in politics, people are passive, or maybe people are submissive, or maybe people are paranoid. So you must understand, passive, they don't want to hear, they reject everything. Some is they just fanatic, they give everything, they don't want to, they don't want to hear, they give everything to that person to present them. And then if people if another other areas came and say that, hey, this A is a blah, 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 is not good, so the people in that area don't want to hear about the A. So it means that submissive. Submissive, that means that they already submit their royalty. Maybe one thing is paranoid. Paranoid means that they don't want to go to vote. They know everything about the politics, but they don't want to go to vote. There's a paranoid. So there's three things you understand. Okay, people must engage in the politics. If people are not engaged in politics, that means that there are three things. One is a passive, one is a submissive, one is a paranoid. So if the people are active in the politics, engaged in politics, we call it partisans. Clear now? And then democracy must promote equality. But you must understand, equality must based on the rights. It's not equality based on the everything must be equal. Sometimes there's a community who are left behind. Sometimes there's a community who are very far away. So you must how to balance. You must how to balance this community. If the governments cannot balance these things, cannot close the gap, so that's not equality. Like the US now, black metal life. Black metal life is one of the examples. White people are far away. What happened? The minorities in US are left behind. So is this equal? No, it's inequality. Equality because the minorities are left behind. Like the black people are left in behind. They live in the poverty. They live in poverty. They are uneducated, and then there's a lot of the criminals. Rates is very high. So the black people are left behind. But what about the white people? White people get more educated. White people get more good job. White people get more rich. So what happened? White people getting more better life. So it's not a equality. So when we see on Malaysia is very fine. Nobody is left behind. Everybody getting its rights. But the government are still trying to close this gap of the inequality, the gap of inequality. Okay. So what happened is the elected person who are represent them should know how to close this gap between rich and poor, between educated and uneducated, and must close this gap. So democracy is promotes equality to close the gap. Okay, and then the last thing is we must know that the last thing of the characteristics is people have allowed to voice out the issue, the freedom of the speech, the freedom to give the ideas, the freedom to say. That means that you understand is this freedom, that means that it can be voiced out through the media social. Nowadays media social. So when they throw out their voice, they have their rights. The government cannot say, oh, this cannot, this can. No, the government cannot say that this can do, this cannot done. Do and don't is not in the democracy. But you must understand, in Malaysia, we are not pure democracy. We are quasi-democracy. So it's not everything have to say. There's a certain things that you cannot say. There's a certain things you're allowed to say a lot. So this is in Malaysia, quasi-democracy. We are not pure democracy. Pure democracy is that people can voice out any issue, anything, and the government cannot say you are wrong. No. But in Malaysia, in the quasi-democracy, the government already said, okay, this thing you can say, this thing you cannot say. If you say also, you can be caught and can be punished. So this is Malaysia. Malaysia is a quasi-democracy. Okay. And then, what is the advantage of democracy? The first thing to understand, the advantage of democracy is the corruptions. Of course, because the elected people, the elected politicians, the elected representative must have the money. Where do you want to get the money to help the people, to solve the people's problems? Where? Through any projects, through any business. So I said that this A already represent the area of the B, and this A be appointed as the minister. So in the power of the minister, there's a lot of the project, there's a lot of things he can do. So what happened is, sometimes can use his or her power to get this project, but not his name, but under the process. So these corruptions, sometimes corruption happens. Sometimes money politics. So you understand that. And then one thing, understand that the campaign, the election campaign can sometimes be high, too high. Let's say that a person just a new person, enter into politics, want to become a representative of the area of the B. But what happened is, the representative for the area B and the area of the B must get a lot of money, because money is everything now. When you want to go out to give a certain things, you must have a money to make let's say to make a lunch, or to make anything that gathering all the people in the one sessions and give them eat. This is the money. So where they want to get this money? So you understand, sometimes this money came from the certain things, we call it the projects. So corruptions and money politics. And then sometimes people can make the wrong choice, elect the government's leaders. This already happened in the US. Example of the Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the good choice that the US citizens choose the wrong leader. And I understand that the disadvantage of the democracy is what? It makes voting a personal choice. A personal choice, not the community choice. So when the person are choosing based on the personal choice, sometimes is it the personal choice is better? Is it personal choice from the perceptions of the one person can be used as a useful? No, sometimes they can be wrong. Sometimes they can be right. Because a person sometimes ever things that we say that a person when want to vote sometimes is very fanatic. So they will vote any person from that party, or maybe that person don't want to go to vote. Also can be happen. So it's a personal choice. And then it takes times to make decisions. This means, of course, okay. Do you know why? Because the government in the democratic governments take a lot of time to make a choice, to make a decisions. So sometimes one issue taken 3 months, 4 months to solve. So it's a very long time to make the decisions. So because of this, we will have to know that it's one of the disadvantage of the democracy. it favors the majority. How about minority rights? The minority rights in the democracy, how about that? It's very high, is it? So majority, that means that majority in the reality sometimes big portion of majority. I've already said that if 3% be candidate for the representative B, sometimes it's not majority. It just get the big portions only. It gets the big portions to become a representative. Okay, so that means that there's a non-perfect form of government. Not perfect of governments. So that means that Malaysia is not perfect for democracy, but Malaysia using the quasi-democracy. So Malaysia is not the perfect form of the governments. Malaysia still have the weakness. So this weakness we have to take it, and we must how to improvise the democracy according to our needs. So this is the thing that you should understand. What is democracy? What is democracy? So democracy is a difference. Okay, democracy is not same like the communist. Communist is what? Communist is a one organizational systems. One organizational system that make all the public property become the public's own. That means that nobody can own his things in the house he live. It is a communist. And then socialist. Socialist is the thing that same like the communist, just they are improved in the economic terms. When they improve the economic terms, they improve the management terms, so they call it themselves as a socialist. Socialist. And then one thing is the liberals. Liberals, that means that they promote the pure democracy. The pure democracy for the peoples. But in this world, not every country is practice the pure democracy. It's very hard to practice pure democracy. So if you have an answer, if you have any questions, you just can ask me. Okay, because there's a lot of things after this you can learn. Understand democracy is a conservative, liberal, nationalisms, social democrats. These the ideologies. Is the ideologies and system of governments. Okay, so we are finished our chapter 7. So in next week is a chapter 8. It's the last chapters. So this the last chapter is autocracy. It's the last chapter. So our next week is our last class for PAD 1 to 0. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.